Greetings, Kindred. I am Voivode Maquette, and welcome back to our World of Darkness. Today, we're not doing a lore sheet or a book review or anything like that. Today, we're just celebrating. Today, I'm excited to say that our channel has received 300 subscribers, and that is awesome to me because that's a lot of people, in my opinion. And I understand that it's not as much as like a lot of other channels, but I don't care. I'm getting a group of people together who all share the same love of the World of Darkness franchise, and I think that is an amazing thing to be able to share my opinion, to hear your opinions, and to just have back and forth banter with you guys. So I'm very lucky to be doing this, especially for as long as I have. I started doing this because I had a lot of time on my hands due to the pandemic and all that stuff, and I've kept it going. And with everybody else's enthusiasm and everything, we've been able to get this. We've got a modest Facebook page, which is getting more and more members all the time, and it's just a lot of fun to be able to take our minds off the real world, because I've always seen Vampire the Masquerade and its fellow games in the World of Darkness series as a therapeutic process for people to be able to work out things and to be able to express themselves in ways that they wouldn't get to in a normal everyday today life. Like sometimes it's just fun to play the bad guy, and sometimes you want to be heroic, and sometimes you just want to be there. I've seen people who are just so happy to be the extras, the background characters, and they actually end up performing more service to a game just by filling out that world and making it so that it's not just the ridiculously overpowered or anything like that, because those people who just want to express themselves and just want to be a different person for the evening really are the structure of the world itself. I've had players who have literally just wanted in a LARP setting to not be included in plotline, that they just wanted to be able to dress up, to cosplay as their favorite character, and to interact and have conversations with people. I know people who have never spent a single point on their character sheets for this exact same reason, and being able to reach out through this media and be able to interact with everybody through all the weird things that I do on this channel means a lot to me, so thank you. Now, speaking of said Facebook page that I have, I went ahead and I put a question out there on like what would everybody would like me to do for this 300 special, because I really want to celebrate all the little milestones. And the idea that actually got the most attention was hearing about one of my past characters. So I guess we're going to have a short little story time here. And I think the one that the most people are the most curious about is the one that got me the most interested in Clan Tzimisce. Now, when I first started playing was at a LARP. I showed up at this park in my town, and I was met by a whole bunch of people who I never even met before. I was there with me and my friend Shelby, and we were just somebody threw a Laws of the Night, which is the LARP version of Vampire the Masquerade, in our hands. And it was 2nd edition revised, and I was flipping through the pages, and the very first clan that caught my attention was Tzimisce. And I was told no. I was told by players, not even a storyteller. I didn't know who I was supposed to ask, but the players told me that I didn't have enough experience to play a Tzimisce, that the storyteller wouldn't even allow me to do that, so why even bother asking? And I let them steer my decision on that one, and I've regretted that for a very long time, because I always wondered what it would have been like if my first character had been Tzimisce. Like, where would I be now? Would they have held my attention as much as they had? So I ended up making a Toreador, as was common in our game for new players to bring in Toreador, which now that I stop and think about it, it's like Toreador, I think, needs to be one of those clans that you really should have the most, like, have a good amount of experience for, because they're so in-depth. And yeah, you can bungle through it, but you can bungle through any clan not knowing what you're doing, really. And with the Toreador, they actually deserve a lot more respect than they get, because they're such a in-depth monster. They are the wolf in sheep's clothing, in my opinion. In fact, all the clans really deserve to have a little bit more respect, and people should walk people through how to be able to play and at least get an idea of what the clans are. Because I know, like, I caught a hold of, like, the first sentence, and it was talking about crumbling castles and ancient sorceries and things like that, and that's what caught my attention for the Fiends. And you really don't have enough time when there's a whirlwind and you're trying to get ready before the storyteller gets there to build your character, you know? So I ended up playing Toreador. Now, after that, I've played Ventru Anti-Tribu, and I played a Son of Discord, and I've played a lot of things. I've been playing for some time now. I've actually been playing for, God, almost 20 years at this point. I've been playing for 18 years. And as I got to play all these different things, I finally did get to play as Zamitzi in a Dark Age game, which was very fun. It was very short-lived due to my interest in the style of the storyteller. I did not play in that game for very long, but I did get a taste at playing an old clan, Khaldun Zamitzi, where the storyteller had no rules and literally let me do whatever I wanted to. And I think that's actually where I didn't have interest, is that there was no boundaries to what I could do. They were letting me do whatever I wanted. But eventually, I was playing at one point in time a Gangrel Anti-Tribu by the name of Xander Fauna, and it was probably one of the characters that grew the fastest that I had ever played. I was playing an Australian. I was using Chris Hemsworth as my avatar before I even knew what the hell or who the hell Chris Hemsworth was. I literally just typed in Australian actor online and got a picture of this guy, and then and I made this awesome character who was on Path of Metamorphosis, and I got the taste of playing a Metamorphosist. And I used to use his clan Flaw as my way of evolution for that path, because in the old Laws of the Night system, you didn't lose your animal traits as time went by. You kept them, and that being the case, like, I kept forcing myself again and again and again into frenzy to evolve further and become stronger. Well, in that game, playing that Gangrel, I had actually ended up ticking off a rather powerful Lasombra. And me being the Pack Priest and him being the Ductus, I eventually ended up trying to kill the guy. And he ended up getting me through means, which unfortunately there were some rules that did not exactly go the way they were supposed to. I can go further into detail on that if you guys are ever interested. If you guys want to hear the tale of Xander Fauna, I'm happy to tell you how that worked. But the storyteller came up to me and told me that there were several rules that were overlooked during the combat that was my death. And given that, she gave me a couple of different opportunities. She told me that I could come back as an Infernalist, which was completely against my character's mentality. He did not think he was a bad guy. He thought he was wild more than anything. And coming back as a demon was just going to equal, like, automatically getting killed the next week anyway. It was a Sabbat game. And she said that we could retcon it, and I was like, but this was months of planning to attack the way that I had to clear the slate, and everybody knew what I was doing at that point. So I'm going to be trusting the entire game, including the person who played Lasombra, who he and I didn't really see eye to eye. We were going to trust that we were going to keep our our out of character knowledge out of character? I don't think so. So the other thing that she said that I could do was she gave me all of my XP back, and I remember to this day, and it's been well over a decade, that she gave me 61 XP back from playing that Gangrel, and I was like, okay, well, we don't allow what we called Montoya characters, like Princess Bride. Hello, my name is Inigo de Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. We don't allow people to bring in dead, or we don't allow people to bring in like family members of dead characters or anything like that. We don't want people to bring in characters that are there to seek revenge from other characters. We wanted the story to keep on moving and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, I want something that's going to specifically be a thorn in the guy's side who cheated to kill me. So what I decided to do was, since he was playing La Sombra, I was going to bring in a Tzimisce. Now, by then, I had lost all of my interest in playing Clan Tzimisce because I had just fallen head over heels in love with Clan Gangrel. I freaking love the Gangrel. And truthfully, the way that I see them nowadays is more of like a bestial Tzimisce. They're the wild ones, where the Tzimisce are the sophisticated ones. But I really see them connected in a fashion. So I bring in this Tzimisce, and I use the little Nazi from Indiana Jones, the Raiders of the Lost Ark, as my as my avatar, because I wanted something unassuming and not frightening until you got to know him, and then I just wanted him to be terrifying. And I had just gotten done reading through the Clan novels, and there was one character in the Vampire the Masquerade Clan novels, the Fall of Atlanta series, that really stuck out to me, and that was the Little Tailor of Prague, who's this ancient Tzimisce who's just out of his gourd, where he just told, like, he would get on these tangents of nursery rhymes and stuff like that. Like, one of the nicknames that he did not like, or at least people thought he wouldn't like, is the Butcher of Prague instead of the Little Tailor of Prague. And he goes on the rant of the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker, and everybody's just like, oh god, who's he gonna kill? And he literally just says the entire nursery rhyme until he falls asleep, and people are realizing that he's snoring, and they're like, okay, should we continue the meeting? Do we wake him up? If we wake him up, is he gonna kill us? Like, it was so amazing just to see this thing. And then later on they show him, like, after the attack on the High Museum of Art, where they had destroyed the Camera Elysium, they had kidnapped a whole bunch of Kindred, and then, like, as Sacha Vikos is just touring the wreckage and seeing the damage that she has done and being so proud of herself, she hears sobbing, and she looks over and she just sees him cradling a dead Schlachta in his hands, rocking back and forth about how much he loved his creation. And that was really what I wanted to embody, was this internal need to create and to love your creations. And I just wanted this tiny little unassuming guy, so I got the costume together. And the next week after I had played, after, you know, I let things die down, I walk into the game, which everybody was in full swing, and I walk in, I do not take a lick of English. I came in without being able to speak any English whatsoever, and I turned over a note from higher ups, and it was like a foreign exchange student kind of thing. And I actually played the thing. I played the Tzimisce off almost like he was Fez from that 70s show. Like, he was cute, he was unassuming, nobody knew what the hell was going on with him. And then one player in the game had actually read the novels other than me. And when they had said, like, the Tailor of Prague, like the Sire Tailor of Prague, read that off the note, the one character who had heard it, his eyes shoot wide, and he just, like, stares at me, and he yells, "The Butcher of Prague," and I like looked at him like, "Oh, I'm gonna like take your spine out," and he was terrified of me. That's it. He was just done. That was it. He was terrified of me. And whenever I wasn't around, he was whispering stories about my sire, which he had read in the books, to the other players. So like that fear became infectious and it just started to spread. Now, doing this, I built a character who was 61 points over base book, and that was actually a lot in LARP standards. Because in LARP standards, what you're looking at is attributes cost 1 point each. Abilities cost 1 point each. Disciplines are 3 for a basic, 6 for an intermediate, 9 for an advanced. I could buy a lot of points for stuff. And so I came in on Path of Cain for some reason. I just didn't want to play Path of Metamorphosis again. And Path of Cain was something that really called out to me. Just the idea of, oh, I want to Diablerize. I want to commit this cardinal sin of kindred existence to learn more. So I came in with a 61 point over base book character who everybody thought was, oh god, he's going to be this scary fleshcrafter and stuff like that. And I did have vicissitude, but I bought my vicissitude out of clan because I actually came in as a Khaldun. And the disciplines, or the levels of thaumaturgy that I took were Neptune's Might, which I took, and I also took as my primary path the Vines of Dionysus. So I made this character who was constantly drunk because his blood was wine throughout, this character who was like 500 years old is just drunk for 500 years. And so I played him off as kind of playful and childish, and I like to keep my secrets, and I didn't tell anybody I had thaumaturgy. And then I remember at one point in time, like over a little while, I realized very quickly that the player who was playing the Lasombra, who had killed my gangrel, had already decided that my Tzimisce was going to die the very first night, because he decided that my very first night in game, he was going to bring us on a lupine hunt. We were going to play a game of instincts. We were going to play dog catcher. And he did that to me because he didn't realize that the storyteller had given me 61 XP left. So I end up winning dog catcher straight out the bat, because not only did I kill several lupines, I kidnapped a lupine and brought it back with me to play with. I ended up removing its claws and making like boxing gloves for Bruja that was in the pack. I ended up like just trying to figure out something to do to play with it. And I was like, I win. What do I get? Like, what's my prize and stuff? And over time, I actually did end up learning English, and that was a few weeks of intense fun. My very first sentence in English was, "This is large sack of American load." And the reason I said that was because the Lasombra had contacts in the Brodovich family, and he had been like shipping off parts to make this like uber schlachta and stuff like that, and he already had 2 hellhounds. So this Lasombra had things that he was not supposed to have. This Lasombra had things that were Tzimisce specific, and I played it off as okay, you've got to have friends, you've got to have Tzimisce friends to be able to get this kind of stuff. And as I played, I realized more and more that he wasn't friends with anybody, that he was abusive, and he was just mean. And so he's talking about all these grandiose things, and I remember saying, this is a large sack of American load. And then he pulls back a curtain and he reveals this monstrosity schlachta that he had been spending months upon months. I mean, keep in mind, RST gave us like 3 XP a week at most, and my character had 61 points at death before I was able to bring in Markuss. And this is a few weeks after bringing in Markuss. So he reveals this he reveals this huge thing, And due to my flesh crafting level, because I had craft specialized in flesh crafting, my storyteller threw me a test and let me see exactly what was wrong with this Schlachta. And apparently he had been like taking all these like fish bits, because he was trying to create like a creature of the Black Lagoon kind of thing. And I remember looking at the thing and he's like, let me introduce Junior. And he opens up the curtain and this thing lumbers out and everybody's like freaking out, because everybody's like on the verge of failing a courage test to be able to stay in the room with this thing. I see it and I was like, it looks like Flipper shit in a mold. And everybody was like, oh crap. It was really like some stupid high school rivalry between the two of us. And he had it, and when it heard me say it looks like Flipper shit in the mold, it started to cry and it ran out of the room. And he was so mad. And I remember there being a training fight at one point in time where we were all sitting there and he was like pinning us like up against each other. It was like we were sparring. And I was just using all my turns to step out of the way of the person who was attacking me, but I was using my thaumaturgy to increase how choppy the water was, until the person who I was fighting against ended up losing their footing and ended up torporing themselves because they were getting injured, because they were just falling all over the place on this boat, because we were playing on his yacht. This Lasombra liked to like sink ships and crash airplanes and stuff. He was, I don't know. I don't think he was fit as a very good leader. That's all. But I remember him like freaking out and stuff because he expected me to do stuff with Vicissitude, and I had just bought Horrid form at this point. And I was considering, I was like, do I want to go into Horrid form and attack and fight like this, or do I want to just continue messing with people with Thom? And as things were going, he was like, I remember him freaking out and being like, what's going on? And I remember turning around and going, I'm a Khaldun, you moron. And like this big tidal wave comes and knocks over the guy who I'm fighting. So anyway, that's just where I brought Markuss in. Markuss has become Markuss has become my character that most people have identified with me with. There's actually people who live in the downtown area by where I live who still know me as Markuss, because we used to play LARP downtown, and when we were in character, and I never really went down there unless I was playing. So playing Markuss for so long, really, it gave me the idea of what you could actually do in vampires, because a lot of my characters, they were so over the top outlandish that the stories that they were in were just so stupid. And where Markuss could have been outlandish, over time he calmed down. He became more and more grounded in a level of where the world of darkness should be, and not the high fantasy crazy stuff that I was attempting. Now, I did a lot of crazy stuff with Markuss over time. I had pretty much every discipline you can think of. I had it, except for presence and celerity, because I just really felt like if I gained celerity and presence, that character would be unstoppable. And on several occasions, the characters in the game decided that they were going to try to kill me. And in those instances, I was just more proud than anything that they were able to work together well enough to come up with a cohesive plan, that I never really fought back in a way that would harm them. Because eventually I did become Ductus, and then I worked my way up to Bishop of the city. And I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun playing with Markuss and the stuff that I had to do with him. But over time, as a storyteller, Markuss has actually grown as an NPC, where I had him, I think originally I actually had him as like an 800-year-old freaking crazy ancient vampire. I lowered his age. Decided that was too much. And then I decided that over time that I wanted him to be part of a Revenant family. And for those of you who watch the Vampire the Masquerade, for those of you who watch the Thicker Than Water recap and you know who Ivan Vassell was, Markuss was was a Revenant that belonged to Vassell, and Vassell was all Khaldunic sorcery is the only way a Tzimisce should ever do anything when it comes to magic, while this Kravetsky Revenant, if you don't know who the Kravetskys are, they're a Revenant family who ended up teaming up with the Tremere. So Markuss doesn't have an issue with Clan Tremere, more just an issue with any Kravetsky Revenants who switched over sides, or I believe they're called Ducheskis now. But he was the kind of guy who was like, well, let's fight fire with fire. They've got thaumaturgy. We can get a hold of some thaumaturgy. Let's try this. And he received a lot of beatings under the care of Vassell. He was not an ideal Revenant in Vassell's opinion, and Vassell was not really a well-mannered master either. But during the War of Omens, over time, I ended up having him be lost from Vassell and end up in the care of the Tailor of Prague, which brought him into pretty much where he stands today. And I've tried a couple different versions of Markuss, and he always ends up just being one of the best NPCs that I get to play. I do have plans on making appearances as Markuss in the Thicker Than Water game that I'm playing right now. Obviously, if anybody hasn't caught on, he is Maquette and Wes's sire, who lives in Washington with Markuss Vitel. I have two elder Markusses in Washington, D.C. right now. One Lasombra, one Tzimisce. So, but Markuss is just one of those characters that I have such a hard time letting go of. And I tried to bring him into 20th Anniversary Edition, V20, where I had joined the Mind's Eye Society, and they had approved 100% everything on his character sheet except for his sire. I had to have special permission from the higher-ups in the organization to be able to bring in a character who was directly related to an NPC from the World of Darkness, and they never got back to me. I talked to my storyteller about it on multiple occasions. He was supposed to contact them. I don't know if he ever actually did, but after a little while it turned out that I could not play him. But in V20, what I really wanted to do was take him into a daddy's little boy direction. I actually completely wanted to drop all thaumaturgy, and I wanted to be more on the lines of I'm going to pay the extra points to take an out-of-clan discipline to take demontation. Because if you've ever seen the Little Tailor of Prague Jihad card, he has Auspex, demontation, animalism, and vicissitude. And I just thought that would have been so much fun, because I really see demontation as the vicissitude of the mind. It's a mind warping power, and playing him with demontation as one of his primary disciplines would have just been completely stellar. It just would have been so much fun to be able to play him off like that. Now, I plan on going a little bit more old school Markuss when it comes to the Thicker Than Water game, because I've always used him in the Thicker Than Water game as an NPC. He used to be a little bit more hands-on, but now I really want Maquette to be the front and center Tzimisce help, if that makes any sense. To be able to bring him back in as a thaumaturge who also practices vicissitude makes a lot of sense in this setting. And that's actually something that I like to consider, is like, what version of this character fits in the setting that we're playing. And the idea of him having two children was something that I always wanted to do, because I always wanted to embrace in game. I guess Markuss always wanted to be a daddy. I don't know. But like, I failed at it constantly. Like, I'd embrace someone and then the player wouldn't come to game anymore. Or I'd embrace someone and it would end up being a massive mistake and the player would end up playing something that I never would have embraced. But playing Markuss as an NPC and having him be the sire of West Holland and Maquette means that he's playing a game here on which child is going to be the better suited. He has Wes, who's completely delved into blood sorcery, and then we've got Maquette, who's more of the vicissitude styling. I have not decided whether or not both children are going to have both disciplines or not, but I do know that he does want them to focus specifically on that. So I guess that's pretty much all I've got for that, but I do have one other idea. I thought it would be fun to try to go ahead and build Markuss in a V5 setting with a basebook character sheet for you guys. I thought that would be a lot of fun. So let me just go ahead and get all that stuff ready, and we will be right back. Alright, so here we are inside of a brand new interactive character sheet. I'll go ahead and I'll put the link to this PDF in the description of the video. And let's go ahead and build this character sheet, shall we? So let's go ahead and put this, let's see, name. So I've got Markuss Oliver Taylor. Sometimes I pronounce him as Markuss Olivier Taylor, depending on the setting and what I'm doing with this. His real name is Markuss Oliver Kravetsky, but he took the name Taylor in honor of his sire. I'm going to go ahead and put me here. And Chronicle, let's just go ahead and use mine. All right, now for concept. Concept is a little bit difficult for Markuss because he's kind of all over the place. But I'm going to go ahead and say Freedom Seeker. Markuss has always not really worked really... Markuss has never really worked very well in confined environments. In fact, he's always done better. He's always tried his hardest to get to the top. But most of the time he realizes that when he gets there, he really doesn't want the responsibility. So Freedom Seeker really fits him. Ambition. Experience everything. Markuss wants to know exactly what it is to do everything. I actually spent a good amount of time as this character to pretending to be other characters. For a little while there, Markuss actually did have a Toreador persona, a Malkavian persona, a Brujah persona. He just wanted to experience what it was like to be the other clans. And that was actually the big reason why I had learned so many things. But we are building a basebook character on this right now. So I've got my book open. I need to look at our... we need to look at our predator types to see exactly where Markuss fits in to that. So let's see right now. For predator type, we've got alley cat, combative assault feeder. I can tell you right now, first sentence, that is just not Markuss. It's not something he'd do. Bagger, no, he is not like that. Now, blood leech might be a thing when it comes to Markuss himself. He does have a tendency to enjoy feeding off other vampires. I diablerized many people, but let's just go ahead and take a look at the rest. We've got Cleaver, Consensualist. Cleaver is you feed covertly from your or someone's mortal family, and that's not really a Markuss kind of thing either. He wants to try everything. Consensualist, never feed against your victim's free will. Markuss isn't the kind of person to really ask for what he wants either. Farmer, no, definitely not. Let's see. Celebrity Osiris. Osiris could very well fit, but I do not think that is a good idea. He is definitely not a Sandman. He likes to travel all over the place, so I don't think Scene Queen's really going to hold on. And he is definitely not a Siren. So I think I am actually going to go with Blood Leech, which is fun because I've never, ever played a Blood Leech before, but it does make a lot of sense for Markuss. Now, what Blood Leech says is you drink from other vampires either by hunting, coercion, or by taking blood as payment. The only truly moral way of feeding that you can think of. Unfortunately, this practice is usually forbidden in Kindred society. It is either risky as all fuck or requires a position of enviable power. And I gotta say that just by the fact that it's risky, that is something that Markuss would take. So I'm gonna go ahead and take his sire as the Little Tailor of Prague. I don't even know if he's still alive in the 5th edition or if he has been taken in by the beckoning or what. It probably has been beckoned by now. And is this even on here? This doesn't even have it on here, so let's see if we can type that in. Yes, we can. Cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and type in that. And given the Little Tailor, you know what? Let's just go ahead and take a look. I'm gonna go into Google here and I'm gonna look up the Little Tailor of Prague BTM. And this should come up with some stuff. There's my sire right here. Here he is. Isn't he a handsome guy? Look at that guy. And let's go ahead and see here. And that is 8th generation, so that would make my character a 9th generation vampire, making him an Ancilli, which is a lot of fun to think about. So 9th generation. Now, looking at Blood Leech, let's find out some of the free stuff that I get. I add a free specialty in Brawl or Stealth. And given Markuss with who he is, I'm going to go ahead and take Stealth. I know you can barely see that, but I am typing in the word Kindred. I get a free Stealth or Brawl specialty for Kindred. I get to gain 1 dot of Celerity or Protean. So let's see, since his disciplines are going to be Animalism, Dominate, and Protean. I'm going to go ahead and take my free dot in Protean, and I think we're going to hold off on figuring out what exactly that is until a little bit later. Also, I get to lose a dot of Humanity. So instead of, let's see, I got my book because I still have to stare at a book. Now, if we were using the old Laws of the Night, I wouldn't even have to be doing this. Set your Humanity to 7. And I'm going to lose 1 for being a Blood Leech, so that makes a lot of sense. Anything else that I get for Blood Leech? Increase your blood potency by 1. So I get a higher blood potency than is marked down. I'm just going to go ahead and give myself a 2 for right now. And then I gain the Dark Secret Diablerist or the Shunned flaw. That's actually kind of difficult for me because I don't think, you know what? I think what I'm going to do is take Shunned. I'm going to take Shunned because I don't see him hiding the fact that he has been doing that for a long time. So 2-point flaw. I always put my flaws towards the bottom. And then I gain the feeding flaw, Prey Exclusion, Mortals, which is very interesting because I don't really consider him not wanting to feed off that, but I can see over time him becoming more inclined to feeding off vampires instead. But I also don't see him being all angsty about other people feeding on mortals. But I'm going to go ahead and take that anyway. So there's that. Feeding, Prey Exclusion 2. Okay, so I get 4 points free in flaws. That's beneficial. That'll make my character juicy to play, right? Let's go ahead and see what we got now. We've got our top figured out. Our traits now. Let's see. We have the ability to choose one attribute at 4 And I think what I'm going to do is take his charisma at 4, because he was always a very sociable Tzimisce. In fact, that was how I used to introduce him at people, as he was the very sociable Tzimisce. I used to walk into the Elysiums and make friends with the Camarilla vampires, and they'd come out and join me in the Sabbat, so that was a lot of fun. I get to choose 3 attributes at 3, so I'm going to go ahead and say that my intelligence is at a 3, my wits is at a 3, and I'm going to go ahead and say my composure is at a 3. Then we have 4 attributes at 2. Let's go ahead and take my resolve at 2, my manipulation at 2. Let's see. Dexterity. Ooh, that one dexterity does not want to play. Okay, well, apparently I'm having issues all the way around. Interesting. Why? Alright, well, stamina, definitely. And for some reason, my dexterity does not want to color in. Don't know why. My dexterity is going to be 2 also. Not really sure why that wanted to do that. And then I get 1 attribute at 1, which is strength. Markuss has never been really the biggest physical character when it comes to those kind of things. I'm a little annoyed that that is not working, but whatever. Alright, so then my health is going to be my stamina plus 3, so I get 5 health. 5. And then my willpower is going to be my composure plus my resolve. So I get 5 willpower as well. These are going to be things that I'm going to want to increase later. I really wish my dexterity was working. This is kind of sad. Alright, so then we get our jack of all trades, our balanced characters, or our specialist. Now, this right here, most people that I know pick specialist. I think that I might go ahead and take a... let's see, what do I want? Is there anything that I want big time? I'm going to go through here and find out exactly what is Markuss. Like, what exactly would he have? Instead of just jumping into how it says I should take things, I want to see exactly what I need. And first off, I know that Markuss is going to be kind of good with animals. He is kind of an intimidating individual. He is... Let's see... Markuss loves to drive himself around. He does not understand Kindred, who will not do that. Occult, definitely. Technology doesn't matter to him. Science doesn't matter to him. Politics is boring to him. Medicine, investigation. Investigation's always important. Awareness is always important. And let's see. I'm really hovering over the subterfuge on whether or not I want him to be a liar. But let me see exactly what I can get away with here. Let's see. It's always good to have a brawl. I'm going to go ahead and take a crafts, but I'm going to go ahead and specialize my crafts in flesh crafting. All right. Let's see. I'm in the Sabbat. I should probably learn how to use a gun. Melee is more fun than anything on that one. Survival is good. So I think I want to start right where we are here. So if I did a specialist, I would get, let's see, that's 1, 4, 7, 10. I would have 10 different things to have as a specialist. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Let's see, if I was balanced, I'd have 3, 8, plus 7. I think I'm going to go ahead and take a balanced character because I don't really ever do that very often. So, let's see, so 3 skills at 3. I'm going to go ahead and take this at 3, this at 3, and that at 3, because he is still a thaumaturge after all. Then we are going to have 5 skills at 2. Let's see, let's go ahead and take in mind that he's probably been hunted down pretty much a lot, as he's been not really getting along with the Sabbat that well. So 1, 2, 3, and I need 2 more. So like that, and awareness, and then I should have 8 skills. Sorry, I should have 7 skills at once. So 1, 2, 3. So I have 4 more that I can play with when it comes to that. So I'm going to go ahead and take insight. Insight's always a good thing. Athletics. Oh, see, you're doing it again. See, I know I'm doing this. I know I'm doing something wrong there. Let's see. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 5. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go 6. And let's go ahead and athletics. We're getting out of... Oh, I already said that, so I need 1 more. Ah, dang it. Oh, stealth. Let's go ahead and do that so we have that going for me. And then we need to add our free specialties. We got our free specialty from our flesh crafting. Our craft gets a free specialty. We don't have academics, we don't have performance or science, and we get to take 1 more free specialty. And I'm going to go ahead and say, I'm going to go ahead and take this animal kin. I'm also specializing in Kindred because there's a lot of fun animalism powers that you can use against other vampires. So unfortunately, we've got these right here that are not working, and that one that is not working. So here we go. All right, so at this point, we get to choose our disciplines. We get to choose 2 of our clan and put 2 dots in one and 1 dot in the other. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the 2 dots of dominate. That way I have access to flesh crafting and vicissitude and stuff. And then I'm going to go ahead and put 1 in animalism, just for fun. We got all of our predator type stuff taken care of. 7 points and advantages. Okay, so we get to have fun with the advantages at this point. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we got. Well, first off, let's see something. So we took shunned, which is you're completely loathed by this sect. You betrayed them, crossed a local leader, or fought them in the past. Members of this group will actively work against you if they can. Very cool. I'm going to go ahead and specialize that in Sabbat, because Markuss does not get along with the Sabbat very well nowadays. And I also have prey exclusion. Prey exclusion. You refuse to hunt a certain class of prey: drugs users, women, children, police, innocents, or a given minority or ethnic group. If you feed on such prey, you gain stains, as though you had violated a chronicle tenant. Witnessing other kindred feeding on the object of your exclusion without interfering might also give stains. At storyteller discretion. Venture with the flaw gain additional restriction, making their choice of vessels extremely narrow. Okay, so I don't have to be angry at people. I don't think that makes any sense. I've just gained a taste for Kindred over anybody else. So let's go ahead and I'm going to look through these and I'll see what I'm going to pick. Okay, so I got all my advantages and disadvantages taken care of. I have these guys separated down here. These are the ones that came with my prey, with my predator type. So I have prey exclusion of mortals, and I have shunned by the Sabbat. Then I took known blank body because that just seemed like a lot of fun for Markuss. He's the kind of person who would actively tease the SI. So I'm not saying that he would live long. I'm just saying that he would think he would live long. Then for my 7 points in advantages, I took a rather competent revenant. which I've had for many, many years under my employ, a base haven of 3, and then I took a haven library because I'm always enjoying looking up all the different stuff that I can when it comes to the occult studies, because that's what Markuss is into. After that, we have our convictions and our touchstones. So in Thicker Than Water, where I will be using Markuss as a NPC-ish character, SPC, whatever, we will be using the street code as far as the Chronicle tenets go. And those consist of never snitch, respect others, and demand respect, and don't kill outsiders. Alright, so these are the Chronicle tenets we are personally using primarily because we're playing an Anarch game, and the street code works perfect. Never snitch we always take on as a never snitch on individuals who are important to you, such as your coterie. Respect others and demand respect, same difference. It goes for your coterie, and I really need to start enforcing that, especially with a few of the players who are increasingly rude to each other, and also don't seem to demand respect either. And then don't kill outsiders. These are all things that Markuss can actually live up to. He's always had more of an Anarch way about things. Now, with touchstones and convictions, we are playing with a character who is not on humanity, actually. I'm going to go ahead and keep him on his very own version of the Path of Cain. That being said, I do want to go ahead and put down that he is on Path of Cain, which will actually supersede anything that happens in the Chronicle tenets. And for those of you who are unaware of how that works, alright, so here we are in the Sabbat book, and I just want to take a look really quick at what we've got for the Path tenet, the ethics of the path. Lower one's generation and concentrate the power of one's blood to become closer to Cain, and exult in that potency it yields. Partake of all blood, the better understand the power contained in it, and to build wisdom from its nuances. And brook no failure from one's leaders. Be prepared to commit diablerie upon them if their shortcomings hold the pack back. So I'm going to go ahead and write down that I'm going to use the Path of Cain ethics as my primary Chronicle tenets for this character. And again, this is something, it's not in the books. This is something that I personally think works really well. And then also we have here, I'm going to go ahead and take 2 touchstones. And the 2 touchstones that I'm going to take are going to be Maquette. And I'm going to go ahead and say that he is going to take on the conviction. Always explore for new experiences. Alright, so that is something that I look forward to him on. And then I'm going to go ahead and take Wes as my other one. I'm going to just go ahead and say my 2 childer are, and again, the reason I'm choosing Kindred here, or Cainites, as my touchstones is because my character is on a path of enlightenment. I am going to be closer to the vampire lifestyle than the human lifestyle. So for Wes, I'm going to go ahead and say always spell always correctly. Always collect new lore, which fits Markuss insanely well. You guys would have no idea. All right, and on top of that, we're inside of the companion at the moment, and I just want to make sure that I get the new Bane proper, because we're no longer needing to sleep within 2 handfuls of the soil of our homelands. The Tzimisce are grounded. Each Tzimisce must choose a specific charge, a physical domain, a group of people, an organization, or even something more esoteric, but clearly defined and limited. The Kindred must spend their day sleep surrounded by their chosen charge. Historically, this has been meant slumbering in the soil of their land, but can also mean being surrounded by that which they tonight rule. A certain kind of people, a building deeply tied to their obsession, a local counterculture, faction, or other more outlandish elements. If they do not, they sustain aggravated willpower damage equal to their bane severity upon waking the following night. I do love the way that they included the old soil thing in there. I guess that's just a more common version of it. But I'm going to go ahead and write grounded on there. And I'm going to go ahead and say wives. And the reason I say that is because Markuss has a thing for dark-haired, pale-skinned women. It's very, very similar to the whole Dracula collecting his wives kind of thing. Markuss has a need to embrace and keep torpid his brides, and that's a carryover from his human days. That is just kind of how he went. So after that, we have set our humanity, which I did. I took one away because I'm on that. Sea of Time, he is a 9th generation. So guess what? That's actually lower than it typically allows you in this game. But here it says that I get 35 experience points to play with. Let's go ahead and set these disciplines then, shall we? And I think the first thing that I want to do is take a look to see if the Sabbat book is going to give me anything that I have the ability to take at character creation for this, primarily because this is a good way to introduce these types of powers into my chronicle. Let's see. So the very first thing, we have Auspex level 2, Animalism level 3. I might take Animalism level 3, Dominate level 4. Okay, so no, there is nothing there that I can do, unfortunately. So I'm going to go ahead and just deal with regular old Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition stuff. So let's go ahead and start with our Animalism, which I'm kind of excited about. I love Animalism. It's such a fun power. And the two choices we have are Bond Familius and Sense the Beast. The vampire can sense the beasts present in mortals, vampires, and other supernaturals, gaining a sense of their nature, hunger, and hostility. I really think Sense the Beast is going to be the best thing for Markuss to have, so I'm going to go ahead and take that. Alright, and then I get 2 levels of Dominate. I do believe that in the V5 Companion, we have some new level of Dominate. Dominator's Favor. Kindred are creatures of cruel irony, and the name of this discipline power is one such example. While conditioned with the Dominator's favor, a thrall with a blood bond to the vampire finds it much more difficult to act against their master. Domineering Tzimisce are especially fond of this power. Probably gonna take that, not gonna lie. But I do want to take out what I have here too. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and take Dominator's favor when it comes to Dominate. Okay, so I need one more level of Dominate as a level 1. And we'll figure out exactly what he has. Cloud, Memory, or Mesmerize. I think we're going to go ahead and take Mesmerize, because he's not the kind of person to cloud a memory. This is so cool, giving him dominate like this, because he's never had that. He's always bought I always had dominate with him, but he was always an Auspex character at character creation. And then when we get down to our Protean, that is not going to come into effect until level 2. So I get to take the first level of Protean out of the book. And that is going to leave us with Eyes of the Beast or Weight of the Feather. And I think with Eyes of the Beast, it's really sad that it says that I only get a 2-point bonus over mortals, instead of it just being intimidation in general, because it says that while active, the inhuman appearance of the eyes confers a 2 bonus dice to intimidation pools against mortals. And that's really sad. But I also don't see him taking Weight of the Feather. So I am going to go ahead and take Eyes of the Beast when it comes to that. So we have that. And I believe that is my character rounded out thus far until we get to the free experience traits, which it says that we get 35. It says that I get 35, and that's 10th or 11th generation. And it says that I have to subtract a humanity. So what I'm going to do is, since he's 9th gen, I'm going to go ahead and subtract him down to 4 levels of humanity. And I'm going to go ahead and say that he has, what is the difference here? 15... So 35. I'm going to go ahead and give him 50 points extra, simply because he's 9th gen, and I went ahead and I took off that extra humanity also, because I'm not following the rules on this one all the way, apparently. So let's see what I need to get. First, I want my vicissitude. That is not going to fly, not having vicissitude. So we're going to go ahead and say it's new level times 5. So that's 2, so 10 points. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and take my calculator out, and I'm going to go ahead and give myself 50 XP. And I'm going to go ahead and spend this on vicissitude, bring us to 40 XP. Then, really looking forward to spending XP on this one. I do feel like I'm going to go ahead and take a other discipline. So I do want to have access to blood sorcery, which I'm going to take because I think Tzimisce should have the access to it. And I'm going to go ahead and take standard blood sorcery to imitate blood of acid. If you look up your blood sorcery, you can actually get corrosive vitae as a number 1, and I'm doing that to imitate the Tzimisce Elder level from the old versions of this game, which is going to be blood of acid. So an Elder level vicissitude power for that. So we're going to go ahead and remove 7 points off my sheet there, leaving us with 33. I think that actually might be all that I take at the moment. I was thinking about going deeper into that, into the thaumaturgy, but I think I just want to stick with corrosive vitae right now, because Markuss has learned again to be a little bit more modest in his older age. So let's go ahead and back to this and see what else we can get. Do we need any more skills? I always think another awareness is a good idea. Investigation is always nice too. I decided that what I'm going to do though is we were having issues with dexterity. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to put those there, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That last one in athletics is going to go right there, just so we can have it on the sheet. I think I might actually keep that. I'm really just wanting to get into the disciplines here. What other fun stuff do we have in the companion? Vicissitude leads into flesh crafting. where you can do all the fun stuff on there, and horrid form. Oh, horrid form would be fun. In the Sabbat book, under their disciplines, we have Scent of the Prey. What does the second level of animalism look like in this? Because I really want to give him some vicissitude, or I really want to give him some Sabbat powers just to play with, just to show that he was in this. Ooh, animal succulence does not matter. It really doesn't. Feral Whispers. Feral Whispers is always good. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and take Feral Whispers, and that is 5 times the next level, so we're going to go ahead and take another 10 away, leaving us with 23. And I don't see myself going that far up in Dominate. Dominator's Favor as Mesmerize are going to be great. If I take the next one, which is Flesh Crafting, that is going to be as much as I can do when it comes to that. So I think what I'm going to end up doing is taking... Oh, this is hard. I'm going to go ahead and say for the game, over my own desires on what I want to do here, I'm going to go ahead and take Scent of the Prey, Animalism level 3. So I'm going to go ahead and put another one in there and take Scent of the Prey, because I think that really fits with the character anyway. And that will be 15 points off the sheet. Bring me back down to 8, which hurts so bad. But what can I do with these 8 traits? Let's go ahead and increase an attribute. I'm going to go ahead and increase my strength to 2, just because I've been old for a long time. So that is going to be removing 5. And then leaves me with 3, where we can go ahead and buy a point in an advantage. And I think what I want to do is give myself a little bit more control in a haven. And I think what I'm going to end up doing is taking... It's Markuss. I'm going to take Luxury. So, Haven, Luxury, point in that. So yeah, that is what I'm taking right there. I think under notes, I'm going to take Blood Sorcery, Rituals, and I think I'm going to go ahead and take Clinging of the Insect. Now the reason I'm taking that is because that was a Sabbat power at one point in time. And looking at everything, I believe, if I am correct, let me go ahead and I believe it's the last page in the companion. Yes, here we go. So if my blood potency is 2 due to my character, let's see. Actually, due to my character being a 9th gen, he is actually going to be a blood potency of 3. And if I look at Blood Leech, I have to increase blood potency by 1. So I have 4. I have blood potency of 4. And this is speculation because the character sheets do not go up that high. But let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on here. Blood potency of 4. My blood surge is I get to add 3 dice. Let me just make sure that I've got that properly. Yep. Let's see. Damage mended. 3 points of superficial damage. Power bonus. Discipline power bonus, 2 dice. So I add 2 dice. Rouse reroll. I can level 2 and below. My feeding penalty is animals and bagged blood slake no hunger, and slake 1 less hunger per human. Okay, so no feeding on animals / bagged, and 1 less from humans, which makes a lot of sense considering the fact that he does like to eat vampires. And then my Bane severity is 3, so I have a Bane severity of 3. Suck. So with that, we've got our true age, our apparent age, our date of birth, date of death, and appearance. And I've decided that I'm actually going to use Robert Downey Jr., his Sherlock Holmes character, as Markuss this time around. I have jumped around so many different times with so many different looks on him, but he's a Tzimisce. He changes himself constantly. So here we are. We have Markuss Oliver Taylor, my Tzimisce, that I've been playing since Vampire the Masquerade, LARP, 2nd edition revised. Here we are in 5th edition, and I would love to bring him into an actual game and not just as an NPC. But for right now, this is the character sheet that I will be using as his basic NPC sheet. If for some reason he has need to use something that is over this character sheet, I very well might, but that's the kind of situation where if it adds to the game's value and makes things more enjoyable for the players and for myself, of course, we will cross that bridge. We will burn that bridge when we come to it. But other than that, I am Voivode Maquette. This has been our 300 subscriber special, and I hope that you guys had some fun with this, listen to me yammer on, and watching me build a character that I've had for a long time in this amazing edition of Vampire the Masquerade. I love 5th edition, and I really wish I could have brought that character in here when I first started playing. I wish I like the stuff that's in this edition. I like the blood potency. I like the way the disciplines work. I like all that stuff. I like the way the Tzimisce are in this, and that's, I understand, not a popular opinion because people hate dominate on their Tzimisce and they miss their aspects and stuff. But I don't mind it because my character is how I play it and not the powers that it has on its sheet. If you told me that I wasn't allowed to have vicissitude and that I had to have regular protean, I would find a way to make it work because I love the character, not his powers. But yeah, like I was saying before, thank you for joining me, and I will see you guys next time in our World of Darkness. Good night.